Okay, the coming to the last of my topic. We analyzed the fire scenarios that can take up. We understood what is active safety system, passive systems, PBD. We analyzed, but there is a growing, research in abroad and even in India. See, now we are getting a high-speed rail corridors. We are getting new materials getting introduced to our transportation infrastructures. So under these circumstances, the toxicity, the burning ability of these materials has to be determined. There are new materials even introduced for facades, and it could be for interiors. Under these circumstances, we cannot take any chance of these materials catching fire and giving greater, chances of causing disaster to our, environment. So what we have to do? We have to take this, the reactions to fire test. Any new material that you are going to introduce to your building, you have to test it basically for all these, the parameters. One is the heat release rate, HRR, has to be determined in the, action of fire. Depending upon the size of element, you have the cone calorimeter for that. Ignitability, the chances of ability to catch fire, how easy or how difficult, that has to be determined. SBI test, a room corner test, this is a very popular test where to determine combustibility or ability to spread fire in the material to be determined. And Steiner Teller, so this is basically a flame spread test. So any material, if it is in the horizontal direction, it is added, the spread of flame over that material, how fast and how much amount of toxicity it is going to emit. These are the some of the elements that are analyzed. Similarly, all the other four is determined. Coming to the results, after testing our new materials, what we have to analyze? If you look into this table, there is something called as SDI, FSI. So SDI is smoke density index and fire spread index, FSI. These two are to be determined. If it is less than the limits, who is stating the limit? Indian code is talking about the limit of toxicity, fire spread, not yet. We have to borrow it. We have to borrow it ASTM, Euroclass, Euro, or maybe the UL, underwriter laboratories, parameters we have to consider for, determining the efficiency of our materials before adding it to the building. Otherwise, what will happen? The Kamla Mills fire that I showed you, okay, which caught to the fire to the facades and started to catch fire to the vertical elements, the same thing is going to happen. So before adding any new material, so we may have to test those material for reactions to fire. And there are greater potential. If you could able to come up with these HRR index and relationship with all these elements, bingo, you can do the CFAST modeling or maybe FDS modeling. You can determine the active fire safety requirement based on your reaction to fire tests. These are all some of the futuristic opportunities that you have. Okay, coming to the last slide of my presentation. After the active system, passive systems and reaction to fire test, what we have? We have this fire resistance testing. Any elements, it could be load bearing, non-load bearing, or it could be new element that we are introducing other than the one which we are following over a period of time. These elements has to be undergone a resistance test, fire resistance test. Okay, these are all some of the codes. Even in India, we have good codes, but not the greatest one. Good codes where we can follow to test our building elements for fire. Basically, what we are going to see in this, we are going to create environment, fire environment, similar to one which will be there in any of the accidental fires. Okay, and under these scenarios, we are going to determine the amount of period that your element is going to stably stand, or stability of the element to sustain the fire inside the compartment. And at any point of the time, integrity should not be compromised. And insulation, what is the meaning of insulation? Suppose if you consider this as the one of the element, maybe a wall. Okay, here we have the fire. Okay, and this intensity of fire should not increase the temperature of this element such a way that any material that is stored here should catch fire. That is insulation. So these three criteria are holistically determined in fire resistance testing. And ours is one of the laboratory building fire research center, which has the ability to test these fire resistance tests, in laboratory as per the accidental scenarios. Okay, so coming to the end of the today's topic, to the conclusion. Yes, accidental fire is going to create a very critical and severe environmental condition to both life and the building. But by adopting active and passive safety system, we can able to control this fire and able to resist any of the uncontrolled element to takes place. Our NBC is going to provide a greater guideline for adding active and passive safety system, but we may have to select some of the codes away from the NBC, which are already published in ISO, or it could be any of the other country. It could be ACI, NFPA, or Eurocode for performance-based design. And there has to be a systems approach. Without the systems approach, any one element fails in that systems, there could be a chances of greater disaster due to the small spark that can happen inside the compartment.